Yeah, so gold is up, and earlier this morning, just a couple hours ago, it poked its head above 2,500 an ounce, which is a pretty special number, big psychological number. And I think this is coming from a lot of places. Really, it's sort of every part of the economy that you could think of, quite honestly. We have central bank gold buying, which is accelerating, right? China is the number one importer of gold. It's also the number one producer of gold, and many other central banks are hoarding it as well.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, today the market's down. Gold is up. Haven't looked at the dollar yet, but I'd venture to say it's probably going up as well because gold and the dollar have been going up together recently. Yes, the Dixie Index is at 104.35. Hey, we're on the first day of August. Alan Hibbard's with us, goldsilver.com. Alan, hey, so what do you make of the current action in the stock market and in the price of metals?
Hey, Kerry, thanks for having me. Yeah, so gold is up, and earlier this morning, just a couple hours ago, it poked its head above 2,500 an ounce, which is a pretty special number, big psychological number. And I think this is coming from a lot of places. Really, it's sort of every part of the economy that you could think of, quite honestly. We have central bank gold buying, which is accelerating, right? China is the number one importer of gold. It's also the number one producer of gold, and many other central banks are hoarding it as well. Retail investors are buying it. We've seen a lot of geopolitical tension. We've seen inflation concerns. We've talk of the Fed cutting rates in September. So really just about everything that could be bullish for gold is bullish for gold.
Hey, and you missed one major thing that I believe will be the veritable straw that breaks the camel's back. And that is quite simply that China's economy is imploding, that the real estate market, which is the primary means of citizens of the wonderful country of PRC, People's Republic of China, that was the primary means that you pretty much had for putting your excess savings in. And now it's looking like that's all gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. I mean, for a lot of years, a lot of people in a lot of countries have had a limited number of options for protecting their purchasing power. And as those sort of promises, really most things are credit, even something like real estate, because you rely on the government to guarantee it, your property rights and so forth. As those different forms of credit evaporate, you're sort of left with things that aren't credit, and that's basically gold and silver. So slowly we're seeing that trade happen all over the world for different reasons.
All right. Yeah. And there still is, although you can't really get the straight scoop on how many, what the exact size of the Chinese population is. It appears there's still over 1 billion of them there. And if they start buying en masse, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I'm expecting the price to go up a lot. I'm expecting it to continue to go up as it has been, but I'm also expecting that trend to continue. And what's interesting is I just sat down the other day to look at the 1970s bull run in gold and silver. And out of curiosity, I said, okay, at that blow-off top that ended in 1980, how long did it take for the price of gold to double right before that peak? And the answer is 42 days. 42 days, and those are calendar days, not trading days. So 42 days before the top of $873, 42 days prior, the price of gold was half. So that's a tremendous move to get at the end of a bull market. And it, by the way, quadrupled in a year and a week. A year and a week. So imagine the price of gold quadrupling in a year and a week. So if we're talking about $2,500 an ounce gold now, 4 times that is $10,000 an ounce, which sounds like an absolute crazy person number. But It quadrupled in a year and a week at the end of that bull run. So do I think that's going to happen? No. Is it possible? Of course, because it already has happened. So we're talking about big numbers, and buying pressure is coming from everywhere, all over the globe.
Yeah, and I think it's even happening in the U.S. to some extent, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's no question. And we saw that earlier this year and in Q4 last year with the massive retail craze going to Costco and Walmart. And of course, at our company, we see a tremendous pickup in volume. So yeah, a lot of people are buying gold. And I had some friends reach out to me earlier this year who said they bought gold and silver for the first time, which is kind of unprecedented because they're, well, that's I guess what first time means by definition, but they're in their 40s buying gold for the first time. They've been investing 20 years and they're just getting into it now. And I don't think they're alone. I think a lot of people in the United States are going to be following that pattern.
Think so, huh? All right. So, and it's not going up to 10,000 so quick. I mean, I just find that a little hard to believe. I don't know about you. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And one thing I should say is that the bull market of the 1970s took 10 years to play out. The one we're currently in has been playing out over about 25 years. So it's taking 2.5 times longer, roughly. So I wouldn't expect such a move in 1 year. The comparable time frame would be 2.5 years. But even that seems more aggressive than I think is going to happen. But my point here isn't that such a large number is going to happen. My point is that big moves are possible and people don't realize it. So even if gold only doubles to 5,000 an ounce over the next few years, that's going to catch so many people by surprise. And there's multiple times that gold has done that throughout history. So big moves are definitely possible, and the biggest moves of a bull run come at the end. So it looks like we're shaping up to the final maybe 2 to 5 years of the bull market. So I'm expecting big moves.
All right. So, hey, are the world's currencies going to collapse?
Well, when gold goes up every day, that's the world's currencies collapsing in slow motion. I mean, that's really what that is. Like gold and silver don't change. So if the price changes, it's because the dollar or the pound or the yen or whatever you want to measure it in, that's what's changing. Those things are really getting weaker. So any fiat currency is just slowly going to zero, and they go slowly and then they go quickly. So gradually, then suddenly. So yeah, there's sort of
people go bankrupt, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. And I mean,
slowly, quickly.
Yeah. It's not something to be happy about, but it is inevitable. So it makes sense to be prepared. It's that simple.
Hey, just because the country's going down the tubes and the economy's going down the tubes doesn't mean you have to go down the tubes with it, right?
Hey, I agree. I agree completely.
All right. So what kind of gold do you think people should buy? I'm not talking you and I have been buying it for years. I'm talking about lesser, sophisticated, Johnny-come-lately gold bugs. What do you buy?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to start with an allocation to physical precious metals. So maybe that makes sense. Maybe it makes sense to have something delivered to your house. And, there's a big misconception that, first of all, it's hard to buy gold. Like you have to ride your horse and buggy down to the, gold dealer or something like that. It's not true. You can buy gold online just as easy as if you're buying something from Amazon. It's a couple clicks. It gets shipped to your door. And in terms of what to buy, physical investment grade gold and silver. If you live in the United States, a gold eagle would make a lot of sense. If you live in Canada, maybe a gold maple leaf and so on. Something that's regionally close to you, wherever you live in the world. So yeah, and there's another misconception that you need, a giant safe with lasers in your basement or something like that. You absolutely don't. You can store a lot of gold, a high value of gold in it.
It doesn't hurt though, does it?
It doesn't hurt, but you already have it, great. But you certainly don't need to install it. I mean, you can store $10,000 worth of gold in your pocket, and it's smaller than your cell phone. It weighs less than your cell phone. $10,000. So it is very dense. You could put it in your sock drawer. A pretty decent chunk of value. So you don't need massive security measures. Obviously, if you have them or you want to implement them, by all means, go for it. And there's third-party storage available where there are guys with guns that specialize in protecting precious metals and other valuable assets. But yeah, I would start with physical investment-grade gold and silver. I wouldn't get collector coins, numismatics. I wouldn't get I wouldn't buy any ETFs or any paper gold or promises, nothing like that. So yeah, physical gold and silver. And if you feel comfortable storing it at home, do so. If not, store it at a trusted third party. Probably don't put it in a bank safety deposit box.
No,
Just because if the banks go bankrupt or have a problem, they get to take your stuff. So I wouldn't do that.
No, that's total mistake. Never put it in a bank. Well, you could put a little there, let's put it that way, but I wouldn't make it your primary storage facility. There's private safe deposit boxes, which one got raided illegally, as it turned out, by the FBI, and they wound up having to account for it. And we used to have a number of them in Florida. I don't know. The one that I used to use went out of business. You know, one of my favorite places, Alan, to store it, if you live near a casino safe deposit box, because casinos open 24/7 and they provide their customers with a free complimentary safe deposit box behind the cage. Now, sometimes these cages do get robbed, like in Vegas, although they've taken measures now that it's exceedingly rare. But the one thing they've never tried to do is go behind the cage, the cashier's facility in the casino, and start breaking safe deposit boxes open. I remember one guy, he was up $10 million, and he kept all of his chips in Binion's safe, in their safe deposit box. $10 million worth of casino chips, which is the same as cash, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty creative solution. I like that. It feels like an Ocean's 11 type scenario.
You know who created it? You know who came up with that one?
Who?
Me. You're looking at him. Because these problems, and I used to keep some gold in a casino up in Connecticut once upon a time, and then it just got a little unmanageable. But I always did, and it was no big deal. So, and it's free. And the best thing, Alan, is you have 24/7 access. There is no other place in the world other than in your own home where you are going to have 24/7 access to your box. David Morgan? Yeah. He liked that one enough that he's recommended it to people. So me and David go way, way back. We've been friends for the better part of a decade. So if he liked it, then I know it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Beautiful. And I love the incentives there of the casino too. I mean, they're obviously trying to protect everything. They don't want a robbery or a loss. So yeah.
Oh, it's never going to get ripped off there. It's just not. It's a virtual impossibility. Hey, if the whole world collapses and you can't get it, if you can't get into a casino to donate your money to their bottom line, then things are really bad and you're not going to be worrying about your gold. That's the way I figure it.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it makes sense to diversify. So, right, as a form of defense. So don't put it all in one casino, pick several different casinos or pick.
Yeah. You could do that too. I didn't mention that, but every casino, like if you're in Vegas, every casino there, just about, has got a safe deposit box area. And if you're in other places, Mississippi, Reno, even California, the Indian casinos. In Connecticut, you got 2 casinos. In Atlantic City, all these places. In Florida, there's numerous casinos here where you can park your gold. And hey, if you're the nervous type, which I definitely am, I'm not embarrassed to say it here, Alan, you split it up under 3 or 4 of them, and you keep some at home just for safe measure. So, yeah, and like I say, casino cages, cashiers get ripped off on occasion, but like in Nevada, you could kill somebody and get 3 years in jail, but if you rob a casino, they'll put you away for life.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's
that's the greatest offense you can do, is ripping off a casino. The nerve. How dare you?
That's right, yeah. Don't steal from the rich, right? That was Bernie Madoff's crime.
Yeah, well, if you're going to steal from, well, anyway, we don't encourage anybody to steal.
That's right. Yeah, of course.
It's like there's enough easy ways to make money without the risk of going to the slammer that you don't need to do it. But hey, so what do you see the time frame for the price of gold making its play here?
Well, I mean, we're flirting with record highs right now, so it's kind of hard to say how much longer the bull run is going to continue. I would guess something like 2 to 5 years, but I'm not overly confident in that range. It's sort of like dependent on what else happens in the economy. Depends on moves by politicians, the outcome of elections, wars, and so forth. I mean, it's going to matter a lot. So really, I'm looking at it from a few different perspectives. The most important of which is probably the Dow Gold ratio. Yeah. Just basically like, the Dow and stocks in general have been like the main trade that, any investor takes for the last few generations. It's like if you ask someone, hey, I'm saving or I'm investing for retirement, the follow-up question is, oh, what stocks do you own? Like it's just assumed that you're going to own stocks. Like that is the way you invest. It's what everyone does by default. And so it doesn't have to be that way. And so as a result, for the last few generations, stocks have become massively overbought. And I'm looking for capital to flow out of stocks eventually in the coming years and to flow back into precious metals because they've been largely ignored and unloved. So as that shift happens, and I don't know the time frame, it'll take a few years, it might take 8 or 10 years, but as that shift happens, that's when I'm going to shift most of my capital from precious metals back into stocks and perhaps real estate if appropriate at the time. So yeah, I don't know the time frame, but that's sort of the general long-term swing trade that I'm making.
All right. Well, I totally agree with you. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see it unfold here. Inevitably, it's going to, right?
Inevitably, it's going to.
All right. Hey, so we connect with you on goldsilver.com. Any other way to connect with you on the web here, Alan?
Goldsilver.com, or you can go to the Gold Silver YouTube channel.
All right, cool. Well, links in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Ask you, if you go there, please sign up for our free newsletter. Over 30,000 of you have, and hopefully we'll get another 30,000 in the next year because this circus, this ride is just getting started. If you got a question for Alan or myself, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. Thanks, Alan.
Hey, thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.